it's burning, and I think I'm going to try to go over there and try to, like, not shoot the apartment itself, but the one surrounding it, and see if I can get people out of there.
If anybody's home, please come out. There's a fire. If anybody's home, please come out. There's a fire.
This is a horrific incident. We are literally 2 days out from a holiday that centers around family, and this is what we're here dealing with this morning.
Can't even describe like how we felt when we heard the details of, you know, what happened.
On the night of November 20th, 2023, into the early morning of the 21st, Daytona Beach police and firefighters responded to a distressing call about a structure fire at the Countryside Apartments on 1200 Beville Road. The scene they encountered was undeniably one of chaos and tragedy. Upon arrival, the emergency responders were met with a fully engulfed building, thick plumes of smoke pouring from the windows. Officer Carlos Quellis, in the course of his duties, discovered a set of keys in the front door, which he used to gain access to the premises. Inside, the gravity of the situation unfolded as police and firefighters walked swiftly to rescue 3 young children from the raging inferno. The victims, 10-month-old Messiah, 4-year-old Dakotah, and 5-year-old Dove, were in dire need of medical attention. Tragically, the 10-month-old, who was found in a crib in the northwestern bedroom, did not survive, succumbing to the severity of the situation at Halifax Medical Center. The children's mother, Denasia Moore, who was unfortunately pronounced gone on the scene, bore the horrific evidence of approximately 100 knife wounds in addition to severe burns.
These are the calls that can either strengthen the person or can cause some concern that needs to be addressed. And at this time of the year, family is more important, so we want to make sure our crews are dealing with this in the most proper way possible.
Daytona Beach Police Chief Jakari Young grimly stated that the injuries sustained by the children were a result of being left to perish in the midst of a fully engulfed fire. The surviving 2 children, Dakotah and Dove, were rushed to Halifax Hospital and later transferred to University of Florida Health Science Hospital in Gainesville, where they remained in critical condition. While they were fortunate enough to escape the knife wounds inflicted upon their mother, they had been left in the burning apartment.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jakari Young, Chief of Police. We responded here just shy of midnight in reference to a structure fire. Unfortunately, once on scene, it didn't take us long to realize that the apartment was occupied. It was occupied by a mother and her 3 children. I'm saddened to report that the mother is deceased. With regards to the 3 children, their ages are a 1-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 5-year-old. The 1-year-old was transported to Halifax, but is also deceased. The 4 and the 5-year-old are over at Shands Hospital receiving treatment, but they are still alive, but in critical condition.
This is a suspicious fire.
Yes.
It's being investigated at the Honda.
Yes, yes.
Anything you say about a suspect, right?
So I can tell you that, you know, after the medical examiner arrived on scene and we were able to actually move the body, that she was stabbed multiple times. It is. Yes, and I'm very proud of all the officers that initially responded to the scene, as well as all fire and medical personnel, just their bravery to be able to go in and, you know, do their best to save lives, because if it were not for their actions, there probably would have been more lives lost.
We didn't actually find out about the extent of the tragedy until we watched the news.
I did not expect that, like, at all. So I just thought it was maybe an accident.
Samantha Stewart witnessed someone trying to put out the fire.
Even the neighbor got a fire extinguisher and started putting it in the window and started doing that, so it helped contain the fire just a little bit.
But the extinguisher was no match for the flame.
I'm glad I was able to be there, but it's just really hard. I feel really bad for the baby and the mom.
Further investigation revealed a chilling detail. All 4 burners on the kitchen stove were turned on, accompanied by substantial amounts of burnt paper and a box. The circumstances pointed towards a deliberate act, prompting the state fire marshal investigator to classify the incident as both intentional and criminal, noting the 2 distinct arson locations, the other being in the northwestern bedroom. Other debris was also scattered throughout the premises, further indicating a premeditated act. Law enforcement was unsuccessful in contacting 34-year-old Charles Ivy, the father of the older children, around 4 a.m. to notify him of what had happened, by which time detectives were already deep into the investigation. It didn't take long for an arrest to be made. Suspicions led investigators to the man who was taken into custody along with an unnamed woman seen loading suitcases and bags into an SUV. The woman, cooperating with the police, assisted with clarifying the man's movements. She told investigators that Ivy had visited Moore's home to give the mother some money after he finished work.
My defendant in this is a Charles Leon Ivy. Here's his mugshot. He is 34 years old, and he is the father of at least 2 of those children. We know for a fact he's the father of the 4-year-old and the 5-year-old. So this is most definitely domestic in nature.
According to an arrest report, the man claimed to have gotten off around 4 p.m. and upon returning home shortly before midnight, Charles undressed on the porch, citing discomfort with the smell of his work clothes. Notably, the man displayed injuries to his leg and hand, which he claimed occurred while he was walking on a trailer. This assertion was quickly disproved when his co-workers, including a manager at the Checkers fast food restaurant, contradicted his timeline, stating he had left just after 10 p.m. without any injuries. Ivy's movements were also tracked through traffic cameras and an automated license plate reader, revealing inconsistencies in his account. On November 22, 2023, Charles was arrested near his home in Daytona Beach based on probable cause. During the traffic stop, he refused to cooperate with detectives. Authorities, determined to carry out a thorough investigation, waited for the issuance of a bodily search warrant and additional warrants. The arrest report detailed Charles's account of being at the victim's apartment complex around the time of the incident, confirming his presence between approximately 11 and 11:35 p.m. The fire marshal determined that the fire was started between 11:32 and 11:42 p.m. Ivy claimed to have stayed at the victim's apartment until 11:35 p.m. before spending an additional 30 minutes in the parking lot, placing him at the scene during the time of the fatalities and arson. His route of travel matched the findings on traffic cameras. Despite being in the vicinity during the crimes, Ivy did not come forward to aid in the investigation. Furthermore, authorities found him in possession of Moore's cell phone. When questioned by investigators, Charles claimed ignorance regarding anyone who would want to hurt Denasia.
Where was the guy caught?
He was caught at his residence, leaving his residence. There was a traffic stop that was conducted, and he was caught. I'm glad you mentioned that because I also wanted to thank my violent criminal apprehension team because they were instrumental in the takedown of the defendant.
You mentioned Ormond Beach. Was that where he was caught?
Yes, that he resides in Ormond Beach, and he was caught leaving his residence. That's where the traffic stop was conducted.
An indictment of 2 counts of first-degree fatality and other charges was handed down by the Volusia County Grand Jury, specifically addressing the fatalities of Denasia and her 10-month-old son, Messiah Calixte. Charles was also indicted on counts of attempted first-degree fatality and arson of a dwelling.
I know he didn't say that he did it, but do you know anything about a motive at this point?
I can only tell you that it's domestic in nature, and we're hoping that as the investigators continue to close up some loose ends, that we can get more of a clear motive, but right now the motive is not clear. It's still not clear. We may never get a clear motive to this, but again, this is the most heinous and horrific that I have seen.
Chief, you mentioned the mother getting stuck and the children getting injured, but were they also stuck by the man?
The 4 and the 5-year-old suffered no stab wounds, no. Only the mother.
Okay, so basically their injuries were either smoking, inhalation.
Yes, their injuries were as a result of being left to die in a fully engulfed fire.
That was with them driving the car he was in. Is she going to be charged with anything?
Nope,
she was third party maybe?
Yeah, she doesn't face any charges at this time. She cooperated with our investigation, and she's currently not facing any charges.
And just to clarify, you said the 4 and the 5-year-old didn't have any stab wounds. The mom did. What about the 10-month-old?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Ivy, held without bond at the Volusia County Branch Jail, had a history with law enforcement, including prior bookings for driving with a suspended license in 2015 and a battery charge in 2016.
Everybody is still shocked and in disbelief. We was just on the phone, like talking about preparing for the tomorrow.
Denja Moore's cousins, Tanisha and Princess, say they all grew up like sisters. They describe Moore as kind, with a great sense of humor, and someone who would do anything for her kids.
Nice, caring. This is the mother of your kids. You're the reason she's down here. It's just, just crazy. I can't even describe, how we felt when we heard the details of, what happened.
In the aftermath of his arrest, the legal proceedings took a significant turn as the defense, led by Assistant Public Defender Larry Avalon, sought a gag order aimed to prohibit all individuals linked to the case, including attorneys, witnesses, law enforcement, and court personnel, from releasing information to the media. Additionally, he sought to restrict the Department of Children and Families from making any public disclosures. Avalon argued that there had been prejudicial publicity, particularly stemming from Daytona Beach Police Chief Jakari Young's press conference on November 22nd, where Young used strong language to describe the crime as horrific and horrendous. Avalon argued that such remarks could compromise Ivy's right to a fair trial, as potential jurors might be influenced by the emotionally charged language readily available online. The attorney emphasized the significance of the pretrial publicity issue, especially considering the possibility of prosecutors seeking the death penalty for Charles Ivy. Avalon also proposed a 60-day hold on the release of records before they'd become public, giving attorneys an opportunity to object and hold a hearing before the judge. Assistant State Attorney Andrew Obanak opposed the gag order, pointing out the absence of prior issues with comments from officials in the circuit. The ADA clarified that the state attorney's office refrained from commenting on pending cases and stressed that the Ivy case was not at that time a DP case. He cautioned against setting a precedent with the proposed 60-day hold on record releases, stating that it could potentially be expanded to other fatality cases in the circuit. In the end, Circuit Judge Leah Case denied the request for a gag order, stating that there were insufficient grounds at that point. She acknowledged the potential for reconsideration if circumstances changed and expressed confidence in the professionalism of those involved in the case. Judge Case noted that publicity tends to be prominent at the beginning, but not so much during trial periods, with exceptions. 5 days before Christmas, it was revealed that prosecutors filed a notice of intent to seek the death penalty against Ivy if he is convicted on one or both first-degree fatality counts. The notice labeled the crime as especially heinous, atrocious, or cruel, citing aggravating factors such as the cold, calculated, and premeditated manner in which they were committed. The notice also documented the young age of one of the victims, Messiah, as an additional aggravating factor under Florida law. It was noted that the jury must unanimously agree that at least one of the 7 aggravated factors was proven in order for the DP to be implemented. May the family and friends of Denasia Moore and Messiah Calixte find solace in the happy memories, and may their souls rest in perpetual peace. My thoughts and prayers are also with Dakotah and Dove in their healing process. Thank you.